I think that's part of the nature of what the work's about, that you hear about this action but it goes unnoticed sometimes, and it's about how women do work that is often unrecognised or unnoticed.
We were invited by 1418 Now to do a joint commission as part of their really amazing programme of contemporary responses to the anniversary of the First World War. And this particular commission relates to the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry, who were a self-organising group of women who went out to the front in the First World War and helped in Belgium in the first instance.
Their original conception was for them to ride out onto the battlefield on horseback and to tend to fallen men. But in practice, they drove ambulances. This was really the most challenging of circumstances. Essentially, men didn't think women could do that sort of work. They didn't think that they could be courageous or so active. But they were really successful and soon became indispensable. The work is a Coffin Jump, which is a recognised equestrian jump. And it's got a fence and a trench. There's also a woman rider that rides into the park and jumps over the fence occasionally and rides off again.
The texts that are painted on it are actually, on the reverse is Nothing Special Happened, which is from Muriel Thompson's diary, who was one of the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry. And the text on the front are Katrina's responses really to the activity she found when she did the archive research.
1418 Now is the UK's cultural programme commemorating centenary of the First World War, and we've been inviting artists to make new works of art to investigate and respond to many aspects related to the First World War. When we saw Katrina Palmer's proposal for the project, bringing together sculpture, performance and sound, we were really intrigued. The First Aid Nursing Yeomanry had a really important role during the war. They're also still working today. They respond to emergency and terrorist situations, supporting the police and other emergency services. This work is an inspiration for those women that are still working in the FANY today.
Katrina's very interested that the nurses did demonstrations at the Festival of Empire in 1911. And at that festival, Clara Butt sang The Enchantress. So there's a sound element to this piece which is played through tannoys in the trees.
It's a recording, an archive recording from 1917. She sings in contralto, which is a very deep tone, so it's sort of almost gender-defying tone, and it's quite dramatic as well, and I like that sort of edge of melodrama that it adds.
The estate has a very long and rich history, much of it associated with horse riding. So Diana Beaumont, for example, who was one of the ladies of the manor, would arrive into the park in a horse-drawn carriage. And so it almost echoes that sound when you hear the horse and rider coming through the landscape. Also on the Bretton estate in the 1980s and 90s when they used to do cross-country trials up there. So there's a really nice connection back to that local equestrian community. There's also a poster sign which will be with this artwork, which is Katrina's appropriation, I guess, of a really iconic First World War warning poster, but she's changed the threat of German invasion to being that of women. And what she felt with this work is that it coincides with some women getting the vote in 1918, an anniversary of that. And she felt like this was a leap of women into the 20th century.
I wanted the jump to symbolise this sudden appearance of women leaping forward, suddenly becoming a much more active force.